Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the American Family Insurance Dream Bank, where we believe in the transformative power of dreams. My name is Andy Frisky. I am a senior dream curator here at DreamBank, and on behalf of our team, so excited to have you all with us here today. As we get started, we always like to learn where people are tuning in from and encourage you to do so in the chat section. I am tuning in from the heart of Madison, Wisconsin in the East Washington corridor. And for those of you who maybe aren't familiar, I'd love to take a moment to introduce you to DreamBank. So here at American Family Insurance, we believe that communities are stronger and the future is brighter when people are actively pursuing their dream. And that's why DreamBank was created just over 10 years ago. It's an inspirational community destination and digital experience that is dedicated to dreamers everywhere. Our offerings are designed to help you celebrate the dream journey, overcome obstacles, and to stay motivated. Today, we have Jamie Roll talking about Web 3.0. And without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and kick it over to Jamie. Jamie, take it away.
All right, thanks. Let me share my screen really quick. Now I got my presentation going. All right, can everybody see it? We all good? All right, awesome. So I just want to say thank you, everybody, for coming to this presentation on Web 3.0. If you have any questions, please put them in chat, and there will be a time near the end of the presentation we'll go and answer some of those questions. So please, I love having that interaction. Once again, my name is Jamie Rowley, and I am the Director of Applications at Earthling Interactive. And what we do is we help our clients solve their business challenges through technology, whether it's websites or custom web applications. And so that's really how I became involved in Web 3.0, is trying to figure out how can we leverage these technologies for our clients. So I'm guessing you didn't think we'd be talking about Walmart, but they have a really interesting Web 3.0 story that I'd like to go into. So they are one of the largest food retailers in the entire world. And with that comes many logistical challenges, especially when you're talking about shipping. It involves products going through many, many different hands. And so keeping track of that through many different companies is a real challenge. And so in 2016, Walmart challenged their team to track a package of mangoes back to the source or the farm. And while they were able to do it, it took them nearly 7 days. And as you can imagine, when you're dealing with food recalls, that's not always so great. If you don't know where the foods come from, you have to pull off all similar products from the shelf. And that's a lot of food waste, and you lose consumer confidence. So Walmart decided that they had to do better. And so they began looking into all these alternatives. And what they settled on was using IBM's Food Trust blockchain to begin tracking shipment of produce with their shipping partners. And so it took them a little bit of time to accumulate enough information within the blockchain to run this experiment again. But when they did, it took them only 2.2 seconds to track this package of mangoes back to the source. That's nearly 250,000 times faster. Can you think of anything in your business or your life where you need to share information across multiple partners quickly, reliably, and safely? So let's go over what we're going to cover in these next about 20 minutes. First, we're going to really talk about the basic concepts of what makes up Web 3.0, why we're doing this, and what technologies are involved. And we'll also go over some basic use cases so you can see how these technologies are already starting to impact business landscape. What we're not going to cover is all the technologies included in Web 3.0. The challenge that we're really seeing here is that this is a relatively new concept. And so we're in that kind of trial and error phase where people are like, does it make sense? Does it not? And also there's a lot included at this point. And I definitely won't go over crypto. That could be a whole talk in and of itself. And I'm not an expert in crypto in any way. Also, I will not go over all the legal challenges because I'm not a lawyer. And so I'm not qualified to talk on that. And also, I won't go over all the inadvertent ramifications adoption of these technologies might have, things like climate impact. As we begin to adopt these technologies and scale them up, we're seeing new and different challenges that we hadn't seen on the small scale. So people are still working through how to solve some of these issues. All right, so to kind of understand why we're doing Web 3.0, we need to understand like where we've been. And so Web 1.0 was the web of the 90s. It was the read-only time with like the scrolling marquees and the banner ads. This is when we really first started getting search engines and stuff like that. But finding the data you needed at this time could be a real big challenge. And also, all the data was owned by many small companies. They all kind of hosted their own websites, things like that. And so we started to evolve and allow people to start interacting with the data on the web. And so that's where we are in Web 2.0. That's where we are right now. So you can think about things like social media. This has made a really big difference. But the challenge that we're seeing now is that the vast majority of data is owned by a few large platforms. You can think places like Facebook, Amazon, Twitter, Google. They have huge amounts of data. But people are starting to be like, I want control of my data, the data that's about me. And so that's really what Web 3.0 is trying to solve, to allow individuals control over their data. And the way that we do this right now and the tool that we have is blockchain. So these technologies have been around for a while. Blockchain's been around since 2008. And the term Web 3.0 has been around since about 2014. So while this is somewhat new, it's been around. And so some of this is trusted technology that we're starting to scale up to larger audiences. Also, we'll talk a little bit about some of the other associated technologies, the semantic web, AI, 3D graphics, and the metaverse. So in general, what we're seeing right now is that Web 2.0 technologies and Web 3.0 technologies are working together. So it's not like we've just like flipped a switch and we went from 2 to 3. It's more of a dimmer. So an example of this might be that we're storing shared data on blockchains, but you might have either supplemental information or information about how data relates in the blockchain in a database, which is a Web 2.0 technology. So we'll take a little bit of a deeper dive into each of these technologies that I've mentioned. So the first one we'll go over is blockchain, since that's kind of the backbone of what Web 3.0 is. At its core, what blockchain is a distributed ledger. You can kind of think about this like an old school accounting ledger. All the data in a block is similar to what you'd see in a page in an accounting ledger. It is immutable, kind of like the page was written in pen. The only way to change data within a blockchain is to get the majority of participants to agree to that change. Also, all data within the blockchain is encrypted. This just means it's all scrambled, and the only way to unscramble it is to have the key. The owner of the data is the person with the key, and they can grant access to the key so that other people can read it. Another way that blockchain is similar to an accounting ledger is that each block contains a reference to the block before it, kind of like a page number in accounting ledger. This is how we keep everything in order and what forms the idea of a chain. I also mentioned that it is distributed. What it means in the instance of blockchain is that everybody who participates in blockchain gets a copy of the blockchain. That way we can compare copies across multiple different people to make sure that nobody has tried to manipulate the data at any given time. There are two different types of blockchains. There's public and private. And these are kind of really similar to the idea of public and private libraries, where public libraries, anybody can join. With private libraries, you have to be a member and agree to their rules to be able to go. And it's very similar with blockchain. So with public blockchains, anybody's allowed to join. An example of a public blockchain would be the blockchain that runs Bitcoin. Private blockchains usually have a governing body above them and rules on what data and how data can be stored within the blockchain. So with the ability to add these rules and have a governing body, this is where we're tending to see a lot of businesses and companies migrate more towards the private blockchain area. Another feature that is unique to private blockchains is the concept of smart contracts. And what smart contracts are is an application that runs on the blockchain, and its role is to validate data and make sure it falls within specific agreed upon constraints. So an example of how this might be used is if you are a shipper and you have agreed within your contracts that the products will be within a specific temperature the entire duration of the shipment. So as you're going through your shipment, the truck sends information to the blockchain temperature information. And when the information arrives, the smart contract will execute the data and see that it fell within the confines. Now, if it does fall within the confines, then the smart contract can execute additional code. That might be something as simple as just verifying it and giving it a green check and saying everything is good. If the data does not fall within the confines, then the additional code doesn't execute, but the data is still added to the blockchain. So it just won't get that like green check to say it's okay. So now that we talked quite a bit about blockchains, let's talk about some of the other technologies. First, we'll talk about AI, or artificial intelligence, and how that's being used. So within the concept of Web 3.0, AI is being used to better analyze data within the blockchain and within websites in general. The hope is that we'll be able to give users better personalized results and also to reduce user manipulation of data. You can think about that like somebody spamming bad Yelp reviews just because they're angry. So instead of relying on user input, we look at many various locations of data within the entire web to find information about this restaurant to put together a more holistic review. And one of the tools that AI will be using as part of Web 3.0 is the semantic web. I don't know if you've ever tried to Google Web 3.0, it can be really confusing, and sometimes you'll see the semantic web called Web 3.0 or Web 3, but really it's just part of a larger umbrella of technologies. And so what the semantic web is it is a new set of standards for writing web pages, and it's focused on how we link data within web pages specifically to help machine learning and AI better understand everything that's going on the web. And the final technology that we will talk about is the metaverse. And this is not Facebook rename. What the metaverse is, it's the integration of the virtual and physical worlds. And so this is how 3D graphics, augmented reality, and virtual reality really fit into Web 3.0. It's allowing users to interact with data in ways that they had never been able to do before. So where blockchain is really concerned about who controls the data and how it's stored, the metaverse is controlled or focused in on how people interact with the data. Sorry. All right. So let's go into some business use cases and see how this is being used in the real world. So I just want to go back to touch base on the Walmart story I told you and why that kind of works. So the reason that blockchain made sense in Walmart's story is because they needed to share data across many different partners, and they had to be able to verify that data and make sure it was reliable. So that's blockchain's strength. Another example of how blockchain is being used out in the wild right now is the De Beers blockchain called Tracer. And a big concern within the diamond industry is the concept of blood diamonds. And so De Beers wants to be able to tell their customers that their diamonds are sourced ethically and that they can trust De Beers. So De Beers, along with their mining partners, track mining information in the blockchain so that they can provide this kind of verification to their customers. Another way that blockchain is being leveraged is by JP Morgan. JP Morgan has many different blockchain projects going on, but I think one of the most interesting ones is that they have one that's helping them facilitate faster cross-border payments of US dollars. I don't know if you've ever tried to send money across the borders, but it can be a challenge and it can take quite a while since it has to clear so many different hurdles and go through so many different hands. And so this is helping get money to people who need it faster. Another interesting one in kind of the healthcare area is via QBio. This is a real kind of new idea that they're putting out there, and it's in early stages. But what they're doing is creating a digital twin of a human being. So they have people who sign up and go through a whole bunch of different scans. And so they create a virtual representation of this person. And the concept here is that over time, they keep tracking this person, and hopefully they'll be able to see changes and lead to better preventative care in the future. And maybe way down the line, we might be able to try treatments on the digital twin before we try it on humans to lead to better outcomes. And then a final one I'd like to go over is this. It's called followmyvote.com. And what they do is they allow tracking of votes cast in the blockchain. And so this allows for a lot of validation to make sure that votes have not been changed or modified. Now, it's going to take a long time before I think we could ever adopt this on something like even a state or national level, because that takes a lot of trust in the technology. But I think it's an interesting example of, even on a small scale, how we could potentially provide that kind of trust for people. All right. So now, if you have any questions, please send them in and I would love to answer them.
Thanks so much for that, Jamie. I'm going to remove the spotlight just so people have an opportunity to chime in here if they want to. I'll go ahead and kick things off. So I'm a lay person when it comes to blockchain technology, but I'm really curious as someone who operates in that space. What do you personally foresee as maybe not so much the greatest opportunity, but the area in which you are most excited about how blockchain can impact your life, whether it's in a professional or personal standpoint?
So gosh, that's a really big question because I see so many different ways. And I think the biggest impact it is the ability to cross-check and trust data. So, one of the things that I've heard, and I'll be honest, it's kind of one of those scary things, but like, if we can get to the point where like we could have things like health records online, like personally for me, like if you ever move a doctor, that is a pain in the butt, like trying to get your health records somewhere. So if we get to the point where we've developed enough trust, and I, as an owner of my healthcare records, can just like revoke it from one doctor and give it to another doctor, like that would be great for me.
Sure. No, that's a really good point, one that I had not considered. Next question coming in from Keith. So he mentions blockchain has been mentioned as a solution for secure voting to affirm each voter where they reside, their districts, where to vote in person, and if they voted in person, mail-in ballot, and maybe in the future voted remotely. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think yes, it could do all of that. The thing you're going to run into, and I think this is true right now, is that in general, people they want as little information about their voting out there as possible. So I think potentially there would be on the blockchain like a voter registration type of number so that we can say, all right, this person voted, right? That there's the number and the vote that they cast, but probably not keeping all that additional information on the blockchain. You probably want to keep that within like either state records or something like that, but not super familiar on how voting currently works.
So this next question, and it might require some elaboration. Can I use ERC 721 smart contract to protect my business IP?
Okay, so I don't know that exact one. To some degree, you could, because you'd be able to timestamp and show that you've done it. And depending on what data and stuff you're putting on the blockchain, yes. Yeah, depending on the constraints of the blockchain, you could do it. But obviously, you still always want to go through as many like types of things like trademarks and stuff like that that currently exist in our legal system. If that makes sense.
Next question. Could you direct us to a good resource, whether it's a book or a newsletter, to learn about the 3 resources you had mentioned in depth?
Which 3 resources?
Sure. Carol, I don't know if you want to come off of mute and chime in here.
Sure. I was just the resources that you were mentioning, Metaverse in particular, I've been following and have been interested in, but Web3, and you were talking about the AI and blockchain. So like if we wanted to delve in deeper, do you have good, reliable resources you'd recommend?
Oh God, that is a challenge. I will say that's something I always run into trying to review this kind of stuff. Specifically around blockchain, and I'm trying to remember the name of this site. Something like CoinGraph or something. If you send me an email, I will follow up with you. But that this site, I think it's like CoinGraph or something like that. It sounds like it's about Bitcoin and stuff, but they actually have a lot of useful information about Web3 in general.
And thank you for that, Jamie. I'll go ahead and I'll pop your email in the chat just so that folks have that handy. Give me a moment here. And it looks like someone also commented in the chat using voxel art software to build meta worlds, and can check them out at a virtual club. And they posted their link in there as well too.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, another kind of interesting one I saw is that there is a group out there using the game Minecraft to create a virtual world to help people with mental health challenges, whether it's like depression or anxiety and things like that. So I was like, it's interesting ways that people are using technologies that we hadn't thought about before.
Certainly. Still some time to ask a few questions if anybody else has anything that's coming up. Jamie, here at DreamBank, we are a community that is built of fellow fearless dreamers. We always like to ask our presenters, what's one piece of advice you have for someone who is actively pursuing a dream right now?
Don't let fear of doing it keep you from moving forward.
Absolutely. No, I think that's very good advice. Easier said than done, I'm sure, but
very much. I was like, last year that was doing presentations and going in front of people. Like beginning of last year was terrifying for me, and so pushing forward ahead. I'm so glad I did it, but it's not easy.
Yeah, absolutely. Another question came in. Are you a fan of PFP profile picture projects like BAYC? And I don't know, maybe if you can elaborate on what those acronyms are, just for lay folks like myself. Whether it's you, Jamie, or Robert in Bored Ape Yacht Club. Oh, okay.
Oh, like that.
NFTs?
NFTs. Okay. Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, are you a fan of P4P profile picture projects such as the Bored Ape Yacht Club?
Not particularly. Sure. I think they're a cool idea, but there's a lot of weird legal challenges and a lot of misunderstanding about like what you're purchasing and what the value of what you're getting is. So that's my challenge with those type of things. Gotcha.
Well, again, I want to go ahead and it looks like those are all the questions that have come in. We'll go ahead and cap things there. Thank you, Jamie, for being here today. Thank you all for tuning in. We have quite the library of recorded videos at this point. You can go to our website and check that out. We also have a YouTube page that houses all these events as well. But again, thanks again, everyone, and we will see you all next time. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I forgot. Yes, thank you, Jamie. Why don't you go ahead and share that? Yes.
Yeah. So if you need to get a hold of me, if you have any questions about this topic, that's my work email. Feel free to reach out to me anytime.
Perfect. And I went and I put your email address in the chat as well, so that folks have that if they wanted to reach out. So wonderful. Awesome. Well, thanks again. Take care, folks.
Thank you.
Bye.